point. Good to hear from Todd Monken. I thought Dalvin the Truth, though, made a really good point. He says the harsh reality is Shedeur can't make any mistakes on the football field. I think he showed so much growth, pocket presence, getting the ball out, making the right reads on time. No pre-snap penalties, but it's going to be overshadowed by a bum overthrow. And look, I don't think there's any better way to
That right there is the part that changes the entire conversation. Todd Monken is still describing this as a real competition. And after everything that happened Saturday, neither Shedeur Sanders nor Deshaun Watson did enough to slam that door shut. Welcome back to NFL Pulse, because the reason why becomes much clearer when you separate the box score from the quarterback play.
Out Shedeur, right?
I go back to an interview that Sanders did here on NFL Network during training camp. He said, hey, I'm making some mistakes out there, but the point is I'm not making the same mistake twice. Turnovers are going to be a major category that Coach Monken is looking at. What did you see as that second half was unfolding?
It's funny, as you watch him, I love his perspective. Every time I get a chance to hear him talk, it's hard not to like this kid because he's got conviction about what he's doing, and he's talking about
David Carr is pointing at something that gets lost the second an interception appears on the stat sheet. He is not
things. It's the process of making the right decisions. Okay, physically, there's not a lot of things you can do about having pressure in the pocket and not getting downhill and really making that throw. But I thought for the most part, when I watched his feet and his eyes, we talked about this with the Eagles the other day, with Jalen, your eyes and your feet matched up. He looks so much better to me than he did last year in the pocket. I even love, you can't do anything about these, right? These things happen. He had a couple of those. It's about just feeling more comfortable in the pocket.
That phrase from Carr is the key. His eyes and feet looked better. For Shedeur, that is not
an interception.
What did you see on the interception?
What I see, the right read, just slipped. The right read, it just slipped. So that's what makes me be mad a little bit because of it. But I don't, any decision I make, I know it's the right decision. I just didn't execute the decision, but the right decision was made.
Shedeur's explanation could not be much simpler. Right read, bad execution. He says the ball slipped, but notice what he does not do. He does not blame the receiver, the play call, or the protection. He identifies the decision as correct and the result as unacceptable. That matters because third down is exactly where a quarterback trying to win a job cannot give possessions away. Malachi Corley was available, the concept produced the opening, and Shedeur had the answer. The failure came at the final step. That is better than completely misreading the defense, but nobody in Cleveland is handing out bonus points because an interception began with the correct idea, and this is the tension that defines his entire preseason
media member. He says there was nothing exceptional from Deshaun Watson today. I can concur. 4.4 air yards is a ho-hum as it gets, but given how low the bar was, game manager Watson may be the best anyone can ask for. For Shedeur Sanders, the interception will overshadow everything else. It was a bad throw, but there are legit signs of growth in his pocket presence and feel for getting rid of the football. He also clearly still gives the Browns their best chance at pushing the ball downfield. Today won't change the general feelings about either quarterback. More work to do.
That assessment from Spencer German is probably the cleanest way to frame Saturday without turning it into propaganda.
Ben, right? So when you see things like that, it's really good to see because that's why I was not freaking out. I was like, dog, that bad was throw. I mean, that throw was bad. That bad was throw. But you're gonna have bad throws as a second-year quarterback. I hate to tell you, but especially he has basically a delayed development. He hasn't been getting first-team reps as long, right? This is basically the other half of his rookie season. So yeah, he's gonna have some bad throws. He's gonna have some situations. But the fact that the things that you can improve on, the things that are coachable, he seemingly is putting the work and time.
That is the correct way to look at development. Not asking whether mistakes exist, but asking whether they are changing. A quarterback repeatedly drifting into pressure is a structural problem. A quarterback consistently holding the football because he cannot find answers is a structural problem. Pre-snap confusion, poor pocket feel, and an inability to identify outlets can destroy an offense before arm talent even enters the discussion. What the film is showing now is different. Shedeur is stepping up more often. He is finding checkdowns. He is getting the football out. He is beginning to recognize where the escape valve exists without immediately abandoning the play. Those are incremental changes, but quarterback development is usually built from incremental changes. Now, that does not mean every flaw is suddenly small. The missed third down opportunity was costly. And there were other plays where a faster progression could have produced easier completions. But this is exactly why Saturday cannot be reduced to interception equals bad game. Cleveland is evaluating whether the quarterback who walked into camp is becoming a different player by the week. And if you want the full breakdown as this Browns quarterback race keeps moving, subscribing is the easiest way to catch it, because there is another detail coming that changes how you should view that interception entirely.
Yeah, Shedeur Sanders, this is from Coach Lance Reason, right? Shedeur Sanders can create big plays. He's learning to step up. He's learning where all his outlets are. He didn't have any of the bailing out of the pocket. This is something I made a video about this, I think Thursday, and I was like, man, we've gotten so caught up into what the quarterback battle is and XYZ in the politics of it that as a fan of Shedeur, I didn't even take my time and say, hey, he's not drifting in the pocket. Hey, he's not taking bad sacks. Hey, everybody talked about pre-snap problems. Guess who didn't have a pre-snap problem with the, I don't know, the twos or threes. I don't know at what unit that was. Shedeur Sanders didn't have pre-snap.
That sequence is another piece of the puzzle because it highlights areas where Shedeur quietly helped himself without producing a highlight. No unnecessary bailout from the pocket. Better awareness of his outlets, fewer self-inflicted pre-snap issues. Meanwhile, Watson had his own operational problems, including the delay of game issue referenced in the breakdown. That does not automatically make Shedeur the starter, but it matters because veteran experience is supposed to create separation in those situations.
I do like the process. There were times like here, he's going forward in the pocket. I mean, it's a positive, like it's a 2-yard play, but last year that might have been a 20-yard loss. So I just love the fact that he's climbing in the pocket. That's brilliant. That's so good for a young guy.
So again, he looks really.
Carr loves that play even though the result is only a couple of yards, and that should tell you exactly what evaluators are watching. Shedeur could have kept fading backward and turned pressure into a huge negative play. Instead, he climbed. The pocket was collapsing. The explosive option disappeared, and he accepted the small gain rather than making the situation worse. That sounds boring until you remember how many
here. Shedeur's gonna operate the pocket. He's gonna keep his eyes downfield. He's not gonna drift. He's gonna keep his eyes upfield, reset his feet. Right now, he's gonna be like, okay, I need to see if I can escape. Look, Shedeur's an athlete, but he's not outrunning this guy. He just pushes forward, and instead of like he said, a 20-yard loss, what ends up being a few yards gain. That was honestly that play and this play are the plays that I'm most impressed for. Now we're gonna break down this play.
And there is the visual evidence. Eyes remain downfield, feet reset, pressure gets compressed rather than chased backward, and the play survives. This is where the competition becomes more interesting than the loud.
Starting off with Chase Daniel, he said, I've watched this 30 times. See how Shedeur Sanders spins the ball midway through his drop. So first off, let's see how Shedeur Sanders spins the ball midway through. We're only going to look at him spinning the ball midway through his drop. That's what we're going to focus on. Oh, you can't even see. Let's focus on him spinning the ball midway through the drop. We're going to watch really quick and get right.
Now we reach the interception again, but from a completely different angle. Former quarterback Chase Daniel said
back to it. So rear, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then he spit. Yeah. Oh wow, that's actually big. That's a lot. You see, he spins it, but when he spins it, he loses grip of the ball. He spins it, and when he goes to spin it, I think he just had a bad spin. And when he went to go reset his hands and step up in the pocket, like he said, it just slipped and it just didn't come out.
You can see what Daniel was talking about. The ball moves in Shedeur's hand during the drop. He attempts to reset the grip, and then the pocket compresses before he can completely drive through the throw. Again, the responsibility remains with the quarterback. Shedeur himself accepts that. But from a coaching standpoint, this is useful information because the decision itself appears to have been sound. The receiver was there, the timing window existed. The mistake happened between identification and execution. That is not something Cleveland wants to see again, especially on third down. Yet it also means the play does not necessarily invalidate the pocket improvements elsewhere in the game. And now we can finally get closer to the real answer about this quarterback competition. The interception hurt Shedeur because the competition is close enough that every negative snap carries extra weight. But Watson did not capitalize by producing a commanding performance of his own. That is why Saturday changed less than people expected. The job remained available because neither quarterback forced Cleveland to end the discussion.
Opportunities on. Now this one is really good on 3rd and 5, right? Again, third down where your EPA is coming. Now I watched this and I thought I was tripping out, but I was like, man, if Shedeur just opens, if Shedeur would have started his progression here, right on the right side, he would have had a completed ball. Now he does throw to Malachi Corley, and I think what he thinks is, okay, he can beat him sitting down. But what happened right here, so yeah, and that's what I was.
But Shedeur's supporters also have to deal with plays like this one, because not every missed opportunity can be blamed on grip or pressure. On this 3rd and 5, the film breakdown identifies another option that may have produced an easier completion if the progression had started differently. Shedeur instead works toward Corley, where the coverage is tighter and the defender is able to contest the catch point. This is the next stage of his development. Staying in the pocket is step 1. Finding the best answer from that pocket is step 2. NFL defenses are built to force quarterbacks to choose between technically available throws and genuinely advantageous throws. A completion window can exist without being the best window.
The ball could be a little bit earlier too. So it's not a bad ball, but it's a contested catch, right? So he still allows the ball to be, protected, but at the end of the day, it's a hard ball. If he's looked right here, that curl flat expanding, he can hit that end breaker coming right away. So again, these are the things. It's not just the interception, by the way. There are also easy first downs that he can hit Luke Floria on, that he can hit some defenders. Even Carson Ryan was striking through the middle of the field.
That contested throw is a perfect example of why quarterback evaluation is difficult. The ball is not reckless, it is protected from the defender. But the offense may have had an easier answer elsewhere. That difference becomes enormous over an entire game. One unnecessary contested completion attempt is just one play. Stack 4 or 5 of them together and suddenly drives stall. Third downs disappear, and the quarterback looks less efficient even when nothing looks obviously broken. So when people say Shedeur has small things to clean up, this is what that should mean. It should not be used as a blanket phrase to pretend everything is fine. Progression speed, timing, under-center footwork, and execution on routine opportunities can decide whether a promising quarterback becomes a starter or remains an intriguing backup. The encouraging part for Cleveland is that these corrections are appearing alongside improvement in the exact areas that were questioned before. That gives the coaching staff a reason to continue testing him rather than deciding the experiment has already failed. And that brings us to the biggest pressure point of the entire competition, the standard.
Monken. I thought Dalvin the Truth, though, made a really good point. He says the harsh reality is Shedeur can't make any mistakes on the football field. I think he showed so much growth, pocket presence, getting the ball out, making the right reads on time. No pre-snap penalties, but it's going to be overshadowed by a bum. It's over.
That comment about Shedeur not being able to make mistakes captures the emotional reality of this race. Even if
now, I did want to hear how a big Monken felt about coming into this week in the quarterback battle.
Going into last game, that it was relatively close, in terms of both having an opportunity at the starting position. So it would be unfair to not go into the next game and allow Shedeur that opportunity, albeit a different team, certainly at home. There's no guarantee that the same players will be playing this game, but it's the closest you have, and we owe it to both players who have really handled it well.
And there is Todd Monken saying it himself. The previous game was close enough that fairness required another opportunity for Shedeur. That is the payoff buried underneath everything else from Saturday. Watson had the opening to settle this. He did not. Shedeur had the opening to take control. He did not. So Cleveland remains in the uncomfortable middle, and the next evaluation becomes more important than the last one. For Shedeur, the assignment is brutally clear. Protect the football. Keep climbing rather than drifting. Hit the easy answers when the defense gives them to you. Maintain the improved pre-snap operation, then show the Browns the one trait that may separate him from the rest of that room, the ability to attack areas of the field that Watson did not consistently threaten. For Watson, the requirement is just as clear. Being the experienced option cannot simply mean being the option who makes fewer headlines. If he wants to keep control of this race, he has to create separation through command and production. This is also why the upcoming reps matter more than another week of arguments. Joint practices expose quarterbacks differently than preseason games. Defenses can challenge timing, protections, and communication without every snap being reduced to whether the final result was a touchdown. Coaches get to see how quickly a quarterback corrects something after being beaten by it. And that is where Shedeur's own philosophy becomes relevant. He has repeatedly emphasized learning from mistakes rather than pretending they never happen. Now he has a chance to prove that idea when the pressure is highest. If the same turnover problem returns, the Browns have a legitimate reason to hesitate. If the ball security improves while the pocket growth continues, the conversation changes quickly because the upside argument gets stronger without requiring Cleveland to ignore the risk. That is the part we actually care about here on NFL Pulse. Development only matters if it survives the next test.
So every day I look and I see about decision making, like how's my decisions I'm making, and that's how I grade myself off of. Obviously, turn the ball over and all that stuff is not great, and it won't survive a long time in the league doing that. Yeah. But as long as my eyes and my feet and everything was in the right place, being able to execute it just may happen.
Listen carefully to how Shedeur grades himself. Decision-making first, eyes and feet, execution, turnovers acknowledged without pretending they are harmless. That mindset does not guarantee he wins anything. Quarterback rooms are full of intelligent players who understand exactly what went wrong and still cannot consistently fix it. The NFL eventually stops rewarding explanations and starts demanding repetition. But this is why his next performance can legitimately move the competition. Cleveland now has a checklist of observable behaviors rather than some vague question about whether he has talent. Does he
think, right? He's able to get set up here, right? He's gonna set up, and he's gonna be at the top of his drop. And there's players getting beat. There's players coming interior right here, and Shedeur's gonna stay calm, right? He's gonna stay really calm. He's gonna move the pocket. He's gonna stand up in the pocket, right? Now, what's it called? Now you've got this conflict here. Shedeur keeps his eyes downfield and is able to easily find a check down. I really thought that was a quite impressive
That final pocket sequence is the version of Shedeur that creates the real problem for Cleveland's decision makers. Pressure arrives inside, he stays composed, keeps his vision downfield, adjusts his position,